Hello and welcome to CLEA'S World. I am Clea and today I would like to share with you more of the information we received from the 25th dimension. Before we move forward, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And please do give this video a thumbs up. It really does help me. And also do leave me a comment below below the video, because it does help me see where everybody's at. And I truly enjoy the community we're building on this channel. And it makes me happy when things resonate with you, because, you know, these are not things that we can just discuss with anyone out there at this point. And so it's nice to know that we have our own tribe here. All right, so I'm going to move forward here. I'm going to start reading from the transcript. This was a qhht session, so in person with Carolyn. She'll be reading questions that I prepared in advance. And when I refer to me, I'm talking about myself under hypnosis, which means the answers are coming from the 25th. All right, Carolyn, you told us that this game was screwed up by the dark team at the 5th dimensional level, and that the teams in the higher dimensions didn't want it to get this dark. Why was it screwed up at 5D? Is this dimension where the reptilians are as well? Me. So it was screwed up in the 5D because, again, that's where they had the misunderstanding. They just thought this is easier to be done that way. And they also knew we were going to play our part on the other side. We also screwed up because we didn't play our part properly. We let a lot of things slide. It's almost like we didn't let them know this was not going so great. So we also screwed up. It wasn't just a dark team. We're just playing. And like in any game, when you're playing, you make mistakes, you know, and normally you readjust, but we just weren't able to readjust because, like we mentioned before, they are actually much better than us at playing this game in 3D. But no, this is not what the reptilians are. The reptilians are all dimensional levels. Reptilians are just like saying, so they have reptilians that are higher than 5D. They have reptilians, they're telling me in the 9D, for example, 9th dimension. It's almost like saying, you know, everybody's excited about Pleiadians. So let's use the Pleiadians as an example. Pleiadians can be in different levels of consciousness. Now, normally they are in 9D. And so, yeah, the reptilians, they're showing me a lot of reptilians are at the 5th dimensional level, though. Yes. Now, there are, I guess what we're trying to say is that there are people from the dark team at the 9th dimensional level, but it was at the 5th dimensional level at this particular degree of awareness, because again, it's a degree of awareness. It's not a degree of consciousness. Consciousness is the same for everybody. At this degree of awareness is where they screwed up. They just didn't know. And we all have this problem. We don't know when we cause an action. We don't know what the reaction is going to be, what the outcome is going to be, because nothing gets imposed. All we do is come up with an idea, and depending on how many people go for it, that's what will happen. So I can come up with ideas all day long, but if the individuals in the collective, not enough people want to see the idea happening, it's not going to happen. So it's not that I come up with an idea and it's happening. We think that. We think that, for example, we think governments, oh, governments are evil. Well, is it governments, or is it us supporting the ideas the government comes up with? We already know this. It's a numbers game. We would be able to topple a government in 3 days and have a new system. But we have let this run for a long time because, again, we like this idea. We've been picking up on this idea, right? And everything works the same way. You know, a lot of the scare tactics that have been used on us in the intel community in the last couple of years is that this is what the dark had in mind. They wanted to do the chips, the microchips for everybody. They wanted to do the V-passports, which they were trying to pass. They actually have passed them in some places. They call them green passes because, you know, it sounds so much more poetic. But the idea is that they made it sound like it's already happened, right? But it hasn't happened. Just because somebody says, here's what I have planned for you, we're going to have a nuclear attack, doesn't mean we're going to have a nuclear attack, okay? I'm sure there are people, and there are people on Earth, and we know this, that would have loved to destroy half the planet, but they've been talking about it forever. Why has it not happened? Because just because you come up with an idea doesn't mean it has to happen. And so what's happened at the, this is to say that's what's happening in the fifth dimensional level, is that, yeah, these people came up with ideas that maybe it would have been so much better if they hadn't come up with, but we've all picked them up. I don't want to say as a collective, because again, there is no collective. Enough people within the collective thought it sounded like fun, like money. We all love the idea of money. That's why it became so all-encompassing, but it didn't last very long. And when it stopped being fun, we didn't stop it. Enough people wanted it, because even when you say you hate money, you're still focused on money. You haven't moved. You haven't switched your focus to, well, that doesn't even exist for me. And because it was so successful, it really pervaded so many facets of reality, to where even the ones of us that were no longer interested, we still faced it. We still had to deal with it. And we felt like we had to deal with it. And because we felt like we had to deal with it, that's why we weren't able to remove it. Carolyn, why do we set up New Earth to be a 7D planet as opposed to being a little more conscious than what we have now as a 5D planet? So basically, why did we set up New Earth as 7D instead of just being 5D? We set it up as a 7D planet because Gaia wants to be a 7D planet. We have learned through New Earth, and the rest of the multiverse is learning through New Earth. That's another reason they're concerned that dimension means nothing. We've always had in the Matrix a very hierarchical view and conception of how things work. So it's not just here on this planet that we think, higher numbers are better than lower numbers. We're trained with this since we're children, you get 10, which is better than 5, and which is where you fail, kind of thing. And I don't know if you guys can relate to this, but in Italy, that's how we grew up. We had grades between 0 and 10. And so 6 is passing. So anything below 6 is failing. And that's what they mean by, you have 10, it's good. If you have 5, you're a failure, basically, kind of thing. And this is exactly what happens in the multiverse. There are planets, even aliens, very high awareness, high consciousness planets, and they think they're better than us because we're in 3D. We in 3D think we're not as good as people that are in higher dimensions. I'm sure you can relate to this. Everybody thinks this. Truth is, none of this is true. It simply is a choice. So the reason we're creating a 7D planet, one, Gaia wanted to basically be a 7D planet, and we let her do whatever she wants because she's one of us. She has as much creativity and freedom to do what she wants. And two, we don't care. It could have been another 3D planet, and we could still have been gods because it doesn't matter what the dimension is. So this was a shocker for me. I'm sure it's a shocker for you guys too. Everything we're being taught is that higher dimensional civilizations, alien civilizations, know more than we do. We're definitely going to be breaking some rules. This is one of the first mind-blowing concepts that the rest of the multiverse is going to have to deal with. You're going to learn so much from us. We're going to break all the rules. And this is one of the biggest rules they have. They believe that you go up in consciousness. You go up in awareness. You become more enlightened. It's an upward cycle. And it isn't, because even the movement of upward, there is no movement. It's all now. It's not, none of this is real. These concepts that we have used, that we are used to, and they are used throughout the multiverse, not just us, they're not real. They're just made up. And so we're going to be in 7D to show them that even at 7D level, we can do things that other civilizations cannot even do at 20D. This is the whole point. We're starting to break the rules right away. We haven't even gotten there. We're already breaking the rules. Carolyn, I love being a rule breaker. She was laughing. Me, we know you, Carolyn. We know who we're talking to. They were laughing too. They have a good time with Carolyn, for sure. Carolyn, how long did we play in the light, or at least maintain a balanced polarity on this current Earth, if at all? Me, yeah, not very long, no. By the time we settled on rules, right away the game was unbalanced. So there was a period of time when we were deciding, what do we want to have? So everyone, we talked about this when everything went, basically everything was available. And then we decided, okay, no, we're only going to have humans here, and we're gonna. So we kind of set up the rules of the game, and we're ready to start playing. It's almost like when you're setting up a board and you're saying, okay, now we start playing. Everybody get a different color and throw the dice or whatever. By the time we had it in place, we're like, okay, here's how it's going to be. We already lost our polarity. The reason it was very quick once we set up the rules is because, once again, we on the team of the light have not been as good at playing the game. So once you have rules in the game, they were able, before there were no rules really. So anybody could do anything, but we assumed the rules worked a certain way. And they're like, oh, we're just gonna do whatever. We're gonna throw all the dice at once. They were just more creative within the set of rules than we were. That's what happened. Carolyn, so we let them do their shenanigans for a long time. We just followed behind. And we just followed behind. It was coming from me from the 25th. Carolyn, right, and clean it all up. We didn't curtail it. Me, yeah, exactly. And we didn't think, oh, then, well, if they're throwing 5 dice at once, then we're going to throw 10 dice. We're not going to. Now, we tried. The equivalent of that was to do the first reset. We're like, okay, we're just going to clear the board, do it again. But then they started doing it again. And we never came up with another great idea like that. And they were chuckling here. Still to this day, after having received so much information from the 25th, it's still mind-boggling to me that all of this is just a game. It's just for fun. So with everything that we from a 3D perspective consider to be so painful, it's all like, oh, we're just playing. And it's a lot for us to take, especially having experienced life here. Carolyn, can you tell us a little more, about what kind of civilization was here before the first reset? Me. Before the first reset, we had, so first of all, initially this planet was like paradise, right? And so that was kind of, again, everybody was here, everybody was having fun, there were no rules. So it's almost like an airport in a foreign city. There are people coming from all over the world, it's almost like a different world. It's almost a place outside of the actual country where it might actually be much more uniform. So in that sense, it's like here. We didn't have any rules. Everybody was here doing whatever they wanted. And then we set the rules where it was going to be like paradise. We still had all these abilities. We had technology, etc. We were having fun. But we saw that things were, again, there was some imbalance between some of the things that some people were doing and some others. And so things were already sliding, and people were already talking about dominating. I mean, the dark has been talking about dominating forever. And that's when we decided to reset. We didn't realize, because in hindsight, it would have been better to never even come up with this idea. We didn't realize that it could have become even darker. If we had realized, we wouldn't even have done it. So for example, Atlantis, that was a reset done by the dark. Before Atlantis, it was much more fluid. We had a lot of technology. We had all these things that we connect to Atlantis, but Atlantis was actually a reset. And had the light realized this could happen, we should have just let it run the way it did without resetting even the first time. So it was almost, so in answer to your question, it was a gradual imbalance. But normally we don't have a problem with imbalance. Lack of balance exists throughout the multiverse. It's normal. You're never going to have exactly 50-50, because we're alive, we're fluid. So we just go up a little bit, down, etc., etc. But normally we go inside. we figure out what's going on, just like you do on your own. A planet is no different than what we do on our own on a daily basis. Hey, yesterday I was feeling really down, so today I'm just going to do something more high vibrational, pick myself up. That's all a planet does, but they do it as a collective. And so in this case, this was getting a little bit, feeling a little icky. We're doing some things because, again, everything was allowable. And so we did some things that didn't feel great. And all of a sudden, the light team had this brilliant idea, and they were laughing again here. Oh, let's just, reset everything and make new rules. And that's when we really opened Pandora's box, is what we did. All right, I'm going to stop today's video here. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you for watching, and take care. Bye-bye.